Everybody. Hey Dave, how you doing, buddy? So pretty decent morning. Price action's looking pretty good. We have a lot of things on the agenda. We can see it's like the Econo Day, which is what I named today's session, the Econo Day. There are a lot of things here, but there has already been quite a bit going through in the overnight hours. On watch for today, at least, like the big one on watch is going to be the CPI numbers, right? And that's coming up at 8:30. Now, the dollar opens at 8, the bonds open at 8:20, and this is going to slip in just 10 minutes after that, and it's on top of the jobless claims. So, this is going to make or break our day right here. That 8:30 report. The 10:30 petroleum status, I mean, it does matter, but not in a way that's going to affect the market for the rest of the week. Additional auctions at 11, 11:30, and 1 o'clock. Notice the 1 p.m. is the 30-year bond. That's a really big deal. Yesterday we had the 10-year on the auction, and the 30-year inflation hit -6 yesterday. The projected securities and inflation protected securities was -0.6 yesterday. It's a real mess out there, and as we'll look at with the dollar and the bonds, the dollar is making an exaggerated move, and we felt it this morning. Of course, we always got to try to ask with the dollar what's going on, if the dollar is moving with the VIX or not. But the point is that with today's market, we absolutely could see a significant shift in sentiment. We've been holding sideways the last couple of days, and there hadn't really been anything alarming showing up. We had a nice rally that got us to these levels. The sideways action makes perfect sense after such an exaggerated move. And then after a consolidation period, we would expect things to continue that upward move. But because the move was so exaggerated, and I was actually looking at this more on the NASDAQ this morning than the ES, there was a period where we moved very, very fast right there. And there's nothing to hold us on the way down if we were to flip if this double bottom that I called out did not work, then we were going to revisit the 90, right? Basically the 600 flat. So that's going from like 150 to 600, right? And that's basically been the numbers that we've been calling out the last couple of days, right? So this morning with this little double bottom, if it was going to be a double bottom, then it should have already come back up inside, and it didn't. Instead, it gave us some little Busby maneuver, and it is now heading back down to the downside. So that double bottom not quite working out on this time frame anyways. But if we do break that, we'll just say if we break the 6,100, we're going to another 100 points lower because there is no volume support. There's nothing there. But let's just start with the ES like we always do. We have that same volume node, or that same situation in the volume profile on here, just like we do on the NASDAQ. This area right here. And so while the ES does have a little bit left on the support, if we break that, we're headed down. So we'll just shoot that across the screen there a little bit. 46.50 to the downside. If we drop below that, we are going to 46, call it 46.25. So a nice 25-point break. We don't have a double bottom yet. We haven't quite come down to the bottom. Remember that double bottoms are supposed to go lower than the previous low, right? They're supposed to. That which was a little bit of a shock when I was learning about double bottoms. I thought they were supposed to be equal. They can be equal. They can be less than equal. It's okay. If you get a bottom and then you do not revisit it, that's a miss. It can still be considered a double bottom. And if you have a bottom and you revisit it and then you actually go lower than that previous bottom, that's okay, right? At IBD, they talk about double bottoms like this, where it goes lower than the previous low. And they like it that way. They say it's actually a reflection of, shaking out the weak hands. So any of those three is fine. It does, just keep in mind, it does not have to hit the bottom to be considered a double bottom. It can be a little shy, can hit the bottom, or it can actually go lower than the previous low. At some point, though, too low would be, of course, too low. Right? But you can see how this little micro double bottom, for an example, set a low, revisited that low, and then away it went. But it did wick down just a little bit more. And this is like a super micro double bottom, right? I mean, nah. All right. So on the trading day, it is not likely that we are going to stay range bound with all of this economic forecast sitting on the shelf today. What we have coming at us, we do have Veterans Day tomorrow, right? We've got CPI, unemployment, wholesale inventories, crude stockpiles. They have $25 billion of 30-year bonds on the table for 1 o'clock. And yesterday, I posted the numbers on the 10-year bonds. Yesterday, the market reacted to a new Fed chair suggestion, right? The Jerome Powell got caught with his hands in the cookie jar, and technically, since there's no law against what he did, they can't just like snap their fingers and remove him. But they are looking to put a new Fed chair in place because he's tainted now, and they want an untainted Fed chair. And the one that was the name that was really floating around, Brainer. Apparently, the market didn't like that suggestion for a new Fed chair. That was the start of everything yesterday when we had a nice little pop up, and then it all just started to fall apart. And then all the sentiment started to change in the market after that as well. So, the CPI data today is a pretty big deal. It's the most important thing we got on the table, guys. When this one comes out, it's either gonna break this low, and we're going down to 46.25, or we break that Globex high, and we get up to 4,700. I really don't see the third option, which is that we kind of go sideways. Of course, that can happen, right? We never want to say that a market can't do something. We could just go sideways. Maybe the numbers are a little wishy-washy, right? And the market kind of looks at it and says, we're going to have to wait for the nerds. Don't quite know what to do with it. Okay. I mean, it's totally possible. We could go sideways. I just don't think so, right? So we have thesis, and then we have alternate thesis. So thesis is our main game plan. The main game plan for me is that I really don't want to trade this range. It's kind of a tight range. It's really nice price action this morning. I have no complaints about that. Really nice price action. But I'm just really not interested in this, right? So if we stay in the box, I'm not going to trade. if we get out of the box, yesterday's high is going to be my first target. That'd be 4,700. And then we will aim for Tuesday's high, Monday's high. And then we'll aim for Friday's high. Bam, bam, bam. Right? Now, in the other direction, I don't want to trade in the box, but if we do happen to break to the downside, then this price shelf back here will be my first target. If we make it through that, then we're going to be aiming for that 25 line. That'd be the top of this micro range back here. Right? So that's going to be the game plan today. We've already broke angular trend, so there's no reason to even like snap those lines. I'll just put something sloppy on there, kind of see it. And we've broke that. Right? So we've already started the rollover. If I was to put on some major moving averages, you'd see we're underneath all of those too. Right? This is rolling over. So topping pattern completed, weakness is in effect. And in fact, you could kind of look at like this Globex today as a Busby, right? A really big Busby off of this range that we broke. Yeah. Through the whole thing, I don't have time to redo it. So I'm just going to keep on going. What is up with the stream? Well, thank